Gaboo on Channel Africa.
An attack on e-hailing drivers in South Africa is in the spotlight after a violent attack allegedly involving taxi operators and e-hailing drivers, which left one person dead and two others injured at the Maponya Mall in Soweto in the country's Gauteng Province. Now, the Gauteng member of the Executive Council for Roads and Transport, Gidiboni Diale Tabela, has visited the area and condemned the attack, describing it as senseless, unacceptable, and a direct threat to the safety and stability of the public transport system. And to speak to us further about this attack and the underlying tensions, we are joined on the line by Vhatuka Mbelengwa, the spokesperson for the e-hailing operators. Vhatuka, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Afternoon, thank you for having me.
This is not the first time we're speaking about this, you and I, and, talk about this attack and the continued tensions that, they died down for a while and then something drastic happens and there's loss of life, and then this is now in the spotlight again. What happened last night?
I think what happened last night was a overspill of frustration that has constantly been building up and overspilling actually quite consistently for the past decade. What happened last night was an avoidable, unnecessary loss of life. And as much as the people who shot and put the car on fire should be jailed, I believe that our leaders are equally responsible for failing to intervene, because this is not the first murder. It's not the first burning. It's not the first shooting. I don't know how many will be enough, how many will constitute a satisfactory number for our state to intervene.
Now, talk to us about these underlying tensions, the situation between taxi operators, and then these are the minibus taxi operators, and the e-hailing drivers.
I'd say the tensions aren't necessarily that. There are underlying tensions that exist between e-hailing operators and minibus drivers. I'd qualify the problem that the minibus taxi industry has been getting undermined continuously for the past decade. You see, when you have e-hailing emerge and there's no control on the amount of cars being put on, but the minibus taxi industry has got more structure. They've got start points, they've got end points, they've got associations. It's not right for us to simply try and blame the minibus taxi industry. What we actually need to do is regulate the industry so that everybody's participation is well structured, the boundaries are well set, and we're able to identify when people step out of line too quickly, extremely quickly, because this compromises society, this compromises lives, this compromises industries and businesses. Maponya Mall is an economic hub. It employs a lot of people, and activity has halted right now. I'm right now on the ground outside Maponya Mall. Within eyesight, there's at least 300 million rand in vehicles within eyesight. I can tell you that we've got convoys of drivers coming from Victoria, the East Rand and the West Rand, on their way right now to support and to offer support. And the situation is just going to continually, you're going to see more assets on the ground that are doing nothing. And this is the source of the frustration, an overly funded industry whereby e-hailing companies like Uber have the mandate to without relenting, keep adding vehicles onto the platform. And this saturation is why there is such an undermining aspect that exists, which culminates in violent attacks.
Now, talk to us about these fortnight meetings between the MEC and stakeholders. Now, clearly, it doesn't seem to be working. What is the purpose of these meetings with the MEC and stakeholders? And what are they coming up with to quell the issues or to deal with the issues that you're highlighting?
Look, I think the MEC and government holistically needs to stop stakeholder engagement and start behaving as the custodians of industry. We've been engaging, we've made recommendations, written, oral, we've submitted everything. At a point in time, government needs to act on the recommendations we've made. At the point in time, government needs to execute its own vision for this country. At a point in time, government needs to curate the kind of transportation industry that will be beneficial to our economy and not beneficial to our graveyards.
Have you managed to speak to meet with the taxi association in the area and just have discussions with them, especially after this incident?
Have I managed to speak to?
Taxi association. The taxi associations, have you managed to speak to any of the leaders there?
No, I personally haven't. I think other meetings have happened, other dialogues are happening, but we've had many dialogues of this nature. What needs to be happening is that police need to be investigating who executed the attack. One, two, there should be no discussion around that. This is an illegal attack. It's murder.
Yeah.
It's merciless murder. We don't need to be discussing such things away. And what needs to be discussed is how government's going to take control of this industry. How government's going to halt the onboarding of vehicles at an unrelenting rate. Because what happens is that guys they sit idle for hours. They don't get any requests.
Yeah.
And when they don't get any requests, they start hunting for business. And then this creates a problem. Like I stated, within eyesight here, just at Maponya Mall, within eyesight, at least 500 million rand in vehicles just parked on the side of the road. Probably another 500 in convoy here. This is all domestic investment. This money comes from our homes.
Yeah, but unfortunately, we are going to.
By Uber.
Vhatuka, unfortunately, we have run out of time and are going to have to leave it there for today. But thank you so much for joining us on Africa Update. That's Vhatuka Mbelengwa, the spokesperson for the e-hailing operators, joining us on the line.